Hey folks, how you doing out there today? Hope everything is going well. We've had another just absolutely beautiful fall day. Yes, the leaves are really starting to change around here now, but we've been sitting around the low to mid 20 degrees Celsius mark, which is, probably around 80, I'm guessing, Fahrenheit. Total guess, not sure if I'm right. Comfortable weather though. And we are back out on the Outback Heavy Hauling region. Now, unfortunately, I just checked again this afternoon. Does not look like it's gotten through the console approval process. I guess they must be busy, not too sure. As usual, us modders really have no idea what goes on with the whole process. Sometimes we get messages, sometimes we don't. I don't see why this won't get passed on the consoles that it fits. I have uploaded all the console files except for Switch because I know flatly that it will not get through. It's too big of a file size for Switch. Kinda on the fence if it's going to get through for PS5 because you don't get a lot of room on that either, but got my fingers crossed that the PS5 players will get to see and play this region. Right now we are doing a new task that is going to... I see a little discrepancy here that I did not anticipate and did not find in my pre-testing. I don't know if we can actually get this under here. Let me know if you want to see this changed or if we keep it the same. It looks like, yep, we're going to squeeze under. We're all right. I don't know. Do you want the challenge of trying to wiggle under there with this trailer, or do I move the pipes up a little bit? Let me know what you think on the whole situation. If you haven't been on this map, there is another way out of the pit here, so you could turn around and go the other way if we leave it in and you don't think you can wiggle under, but I just did. We are out in the Pack Links by RSK. One of my favorite trucks, this one right here. It's just a big old truck with big tires, and I've just always really enjoyed it. It's got a really good suspension. It takes up the bumps even at speed. Just like I said, one of my favorite trucks. Been around for a long time. I'm sure many of you have used it, but always a go-to for testing. It's not super OP. It does about what you would expect out of a truck like this. So chose it to do this haul up out of the pit, and we are actually heading all the way back to the Evans Head map. Got to drop this thing off to get fixed up, and then we have to run it back is going to be the second part of this task, or another task on top of this after you deliver it. Now, I have chosen to take the shorter way through the river, through some relatively gnarly terrain for a trailer like this, but that's part of the reason I picked this truck. Again, not super OP. It does what you would expect out of a truck like this. And there is a much longer way around that has its challenges, especially with the high saddle trailers. The 8 slots are a real tough one. I wanted to take the shorter route. I adjusted the mud a little bit in here, and there's another part of a task that I moved over this side. We may see it on the trail. I'm not totally sure. Can't remember. But regardless, figured I would take the harder way, show that it can be done, and we'll see if this is a good choice to come back with the other trailer when I'm finished. Now, I'm going to say not even, maybe close to a third of the way through my real test playthrough on some of the main tasks that I have to work on, making sure they work properly. I haven't got any comments on anything yet about any issues, but the fact that it's only released on PC, there's only been a few hundred downloads so far, so not a lot of people have been able to get out and play. So one thing I did want to kind of go over with everyone is the localization thing. Now, in terms of a map, to actually change, you have to build the map with certain placeholders that will call the different languages, which is challenging enough. You got to really work hard on a naming scheme. And then I believe there are 7 different languages supported in SnowRunner. Now, somebody with my skills and monetary resources is essentially pushed into using Google Translate. which really doesn't do a good job. It does no justice to the grammar, to the intonation of what's being written or said. It's just a flat out, this word is close to this word. And I don't know. I know how much everyone appreciates having their own language supported. When I did the Near North region, I counted, it was 6,500 different lines of text that I had to do with all the translations, translate it, copy it, put it into game and stuff. What I'm trying to say is it is an incredible amount of work to localize a map into all the languages. Now, the saddest part about all that is not the amount of work, but the fact that no matter how hard I go at it, it is just a poor translation that I don't know how much it helps. It just sucks to put, because I need to work at a translation. This map here probably would, with 54 tasks, I mean, you're probably talking a few thousand lines in this map that have to be translated to 7 languages and then inputted into a file so that it can be called on which language it is, and it just really sucks to work that hard at it and still have an inferior product. Now, somebody did a translation, I'm sorry I don't have the name offhand, I need to find it, for the Near North region for one of the languages, and it took this person probably 2 months to get back to me on just the one translation. Just to give you an example of how involved it is, I didn't translate this one. I don't know if I'm going to anymore. It's just so much work, at least at this point, until there's a better way of making the translations. The bottom line is, without a human doing it, it just doesn't seem to get the point across in what you're saying. So for now, I think I'm just going to put stuff out in English. It's just the amount of work involved and the poor product just really sucks, and it's my least favorite thing to do, making mods. I'm not going to lie. It's a little easier on trucks and stuff because you're vehicles, because you're just naming the parts and that. It's a lot less strings is what we call it. And just with a map, it is mind-boggling because you have to do every little line of text that isn't already in the game, which is essentially the cargo and stuff like that. Everything else, every name, every point on the map, it's just mind-boggling how much work it is. I'm really sorry, but I don't think I'm going to get back to that because it's just not worth the effort right now. So again, sorry, it just kind of is the way it is. Now, as far as what I'm going to work on next, I've had a few suggestions of tackling the Fraser Island, Australia area, which would be a real sandy island type again. Think kind of Tassie trailing, but different. Only thing that's been holding me back is how the sand physics work, which is basically non-existent. A few updates ago, they added in an extrudable sand, which would work like Mudworks, but I haven't seen anything noting it. I don't know if it works, and SnowRunner is classic for having something in an update and then pulling it out on the next update, which breaks maps. You've all seen that. I know you've seen that, where a map just doesn't work, or those exclamation marks on their chunks on one of the bushes. And I haven't narrowed down which one it is, but a lot of my old maps do that, unfortunately. Just haven't figured it out. Don't want to take a stab with that extrudable sand, purely because it'll probably get taken out and then it'll break a whole map. So no commitment on that one. Scared of losing all my work. Now, the other thing, and I have kind of started a map, it was a few months ago, but I have really considered doing another highway hauling, like real highway hauling type map. I don't know if anyone has interest in it again. I know half the people hate the physics of the asphalt, and half the people are willing to drive the speeds or find the trucks that are not too bad and accept the challenge that asphalt is what it is. I don't know what the best option is. Definitely looking for any suggestions any of you may have on something I should look at. I've also had a few suggestions about tackling a more snow, northern focused map, which is something I would consider, although snow is, I think the reason you don't see a lot of people go with it is it's a lot more challenging to lay out because everything's covered in snow, so you're essentially going over the whole map in making a depth on the ground, where when I build a regular summer map, I just have to do that with the muddy areas. The rest of the ground is kind of as it goes. Now, it's really easy to overdo it with snow. I've watched a few videos of Sliprock Peaks, and anything that is stock really struggles up in the snow, but most mods, or many of the mods, do it quite well, which is always the hard balance you try to hit making mod maps, is making it challenging enough for most mods. There's some OP stuff you just can't build for unless when I put out the extreme mud for the bog, which is just ridiculous, and most trucks you just sink, but there are a lot of OP trucks that it really gives a challenge to. So always a balance with the mud and the snow. And that's, I think, what scares a lot of folks off. The snow is a little more complicated to set up, but I think just the fact that you have to work on every square inch of the map, you don't get freebies with forests and whatnot. So, again, it's something I would consider going at again, but I don't know. Let me know what you all want to see and what you want to play coming up. I know the newest season, from what I've seen, is definitely kind of a Sliprock Peaks build with, or it was Yukon maybe that they put out that was kind of half snow, half ground. So I don't know, maybe we'll get our snow fix on that one, or do we want something really up north? Again, the further up you get, or places like that, there's not as many excuses to have factories and loading in terms of realism, but we can always just wing it, just make up stuff, make it work. Or do I just go back to something like a High Rock County? Like, I can just go off the top of my head and come up with something? Not too sure. Definitely kind of in between where I want to go, which is kind of where I'm getting. I've put out, must be 40 maps or something now, so just not running out of ideas, just not sure where to go, and really a lot of it has to do with what you folks want to play. So make sure to let me know down below what you think. Any ideas for stuff upcoming. I do anticipate, hopefully this weekend, updating a few of my old maps to get them out on the newer gen consoles. So if you have any suggestions on which maps I should start with, let me know. Regions are only going to be available, basically PS5 and Switch will not get any updated old regions because they're all 3 or 4 maps, which is just too much for those systems, unfortunately. So yes, let me know what you think. Appreciate you hanging around and watching, and should have maybe another video like this, or maybe an update on what I've started on coming up in the next few days. Appreciate it, everyone. Thank you. Have a good one.